Hi, this is Joel Persinger, the gun guy. We're back on the P2K range again, on the indoor range. By the way, if you've never shot here before and you get a chance to do it, please come out. It's a terrific range. As far as I know, it's the largest indoor range in West Coast. And they have an indoor 100-yard rifle range. And the nice part about it is, unlike when I was out shooting in the desert, we actually know what the distances are. And I'm going to be shooting the rifles at both 50 yards and 100 yards. We're going to compare the AR-15, specifically this one, which is my AR, with the, I got it over here, the Saiga AK rifle, and we're going to see which one is more accurate by cranking them out on the range and shooting them at both 50 yards and 100 yards. Now, as far as ammo is concerned, set these bad boys back down and grab this. Just so you know what we're shooting some really basic, simple, cheapo ammo. I've got the cheapest possible 223 Remington 55 grainers I could buy, because I figured let's just go the cheap route and see what kind of accuracy we get out of them. And then with the Saiga, I bought just some simple, cheap Wolf 7.62 by 39. So there's no custom ammo here. There's no custom reloads. We didn't tweak them. I'm going to take them out and run them just basic rifle, basic ammo, nothing special, and we'll see how accurate each one is. So let's head into the range. We'll try the AR first, and then after that, we'll look at the Saiga AK.
Boy, the problem with getting older is you don't realize stuff doesn't work well anymore until it doesn't work well anymore. Many years I've shot at this range, on the indoor range, with iron sights and been just fine. But as I've gotten older, my eyes have started to deteriorate, and I couldn't see the sights. There's plenty of light for a young guy, but it's dark enough in there that I just could not even identify my rear sight. Except with the aperture sight, I could see it a little bit, and that's why I shot fairly well with the AR. As you can see, I mean, I had a reasonably decent group there at 50 yards. I did have one little flyer, but off to the left. But other than that, it was pretty good at 2 1/4 inches. On the other hand, the minute I started looking at the buckhorn type sights that are on the Saiga, which is typical of Russian rifles, I have the same kind of sights on my Mosins and so on, I could not see the rear sight very well, and I found it very difficult to shoot. Now, I did pull this round into place, but it was completely accidental. I jerked the rifle. Everything else was going to the right, and when you adjust a Saiga, you have to adjust a front sight the opposite way of what you would adjust the back sight for windage, and it was adjusted all the way to the stops. I could not get it to straighten out. It still shot predominantly to the right, as you can see. But not a bad group if I don't count the flyer, which I didn't, and so there you are.
Okay, we've shot both rifles at 50 yards, and now the comparison. I got to be completely real about it. The AR-15 kicked the Saiga's butt. So this is the target from 50 yards with the AR. You can see it's the group size at its widest point is 2 1/4 inches, 5-round group. So there you are, just above. Let's shoot a little bit high, just above the point of aim, which is right in the center of the bullseye, as opposed to the Saiga target, which the Saiga sights, I love the rifle, I really do, but the sights that come with it, quite frankly, suck, which is why I'm going to get them replaced. I'm going to replace them because they're awful. The trigger's not bad though. My gunsmith worked on that. Trigger's much better. Point of aim was here, the center of the target. Sights are shooting way to the right. They are adjusted as far as possible where windage is concerned. There's no more adjustment left, and they're still shooting way to the right. So I'm going to replace those sights. They're too coarse, and they're not easily adjustable. If you have one, you know that the sights suck. Adjusting that front sight, you got to basically do it with a sight tool or a C-clamp or something, where you got to beat it with a hammer, which I wouldn't advise. Don't do that. You'll notice that I had a flyer going here. This is a 6-round group because after I got the flyer on the 3rd round, I just wanted to see if it was me or what, and then I went ahead and fired a 6th round here. So if I don't count the flyer, because it's shooting to the right, I'm going to assume that was me. I jerked the rifle. Then I've got a group that measures about 2 1/2 inches, which isn't that bad. Otherwise, I've got a group that measures 4 1/2 inches, which at 50 yards, really pretty awful. So we'll see how it does out to 100 yards here in a minute, and I'll show you those targets. A couple of things I learned on this range. One, the range is kind of dark. So out to 50 yards, you can see the targets. I've shot 100 yards before, and I know the targets are very clear, but the sights, unless you've got an optic, you're shooting iron sights and they're black or they're dark, really hard to see the sights. Then, I'm also an old guy. I'm pushing 60. My eyes aren't that good anymore. So once I get an optic, I get a real, some nice glass, maybe 4-power glass or something on both of these rifles. I'll bring them out and try them again. And then I'm going to probably do some things with the Saiga. If it proves that it's not as accurate at 100 yards, sights are going to go away and get replaced, those irons. Then we're going to do some little work on the rifle, see if we can get it more and more accurate. And I'll tell you what we do, so if it proves to help the accuracy of the rifle and you happen to have one, I'll let you know precisely what we did to improve the rifle. Functionally, I would say that both rifles are awesome. They're very, very reliable. I think where the Saiga probably wins is if you're out in the mud in the desert someplace, or you're out in the jungle or whatever, and you have to fix it in the field. Truth is, with an AK, if you have a coat hanger, a pair of pliers, and a hammer, you can fix just about anything wrong with it. There's a lot more going on with an AR, a little harder to fix in the field. But both great rifles. So far, the AR has kicked the Saiga's butt as far as accuracy is concerned. And we'll see how it does on 100 yards, and then I'll be back. So let's head back out on the range.
From the standpoint of point of aim versus point of impact, the AR just performed better because the Saiga sights obviously didn't win any popularity contest with me. They just aren't that great. But I found when I got up to 100 yards, even though there's, as you can see, there's plenty of light in the range, with my eyes, I just don't see well when the light gets low. And I was having a difficult time seeing my sights and lining them up on target. With the aperture sight, it was easier, and I think that's why I had a little better group, as you can see, when I was shooting the AR, even though I was shooting a little high because I couldn't quite find the center of the aperture because I couldn't see the rear sight that clearly. As a result, you can see I had the one flyer that went way high, but I had a pretty good group other than that. Now with the Saiga, the problem is I could not identify the top of the back sight at all. I couldn't see it. So I had no idea whether the front post was at the same height as the rear sight. I had to guess. And what ended up happening is I shot high like crazy. I think it was less the rifle, and probably more that I was aiming high and didn't even realize it because I could not identify the top of the rear sight. So as you look at where my rounds are hitting, they're all a mile high, and in large part, I don't think that's the rifle so much as it is the combination of the indoor range and my poor vision. In the last several years, everything I've shot in the indoor range has had optics, so I never realized that my eyes had deteriorated to that degree. But this was largely me. It certainly isn't the range, and I don't think it was the rifle. Still in all, if I take away the flyer, the group is still 4 3/4 inches, and that's not all that bad, honestly, particularly when you can't see what you're doing.
All right, so we shot both rifles at 100 yards, and what I discovered is a few things. One, the Saiga sort of fell apart at 100 yards, but I don't think it was the rifle. I think it was the guy behind the rifle. One thing is that for me, and I'm going to say it, for me, the sights on the Saiga are really bad. They just don't work for me at all. And I think part of that is because of my eyes. I'm getting old, and I don't see as well as I used to. So with rifles particularly, you were supposed to focus on the front sight and have the target be a little bit fuzzy and the rear sight be a little bit fuzzy. But for me, I end up lining up the 3 blurs because it's all blurry. And when I'm dealing with those sort of buckhorn sights that are sitting on that Saiga or any Russian rifle, it's very difficult for me to identify the tops of the rear sight and make sure my front sight is lined up with it at any distance, particularly when the light is low. And on this range, it's not that bright and shiny in there. So I was having a lot of trouble getting my sights lined up. Where with the peep type sight on those Magpul MOE sights on my AR were easier for me to line up, but still pretty tough. So in any case, with irons at 100 yards and any kind of low light, my shooting just goes to pot, and I have a feeling that's what happened with the rifles. But let me show you the targets. They were about, the AR was more accurate, and admittedly at 50 yards, but not a whole lot more. The Saiga still did pretty well at 50 yards, but at 100 it really fell apart. And I think a lot of that was partially, at least part of it was me. But let me show you the targets. So with the Saiga, I think I got the Saiga target here. I do. With the Saiga, you can see I have a nice little group up here. It did shoot high. And remember, the sights were, it was shooting way to the right, and the problem I had is I had fully adjusted for windage with the front sight to the point where it was all against the stops, and there was no way for me to adjust it further. So I had to use a little Kentucky windage, and my point of aim was right here. I basically took the front blade, the front post of the sight, put it right up against the edge of the target each time and fired. Now I pulled one here, and I think this is a flyer. I don't think this is from the ammunition. I believe it was me. I knew it when I did it. So if I count that, then I have a group that is 7 3/4 inches at 100 yards, which I'm having trouble believing that rifle's that inaccurate. On the other hand, if I take this 4-round group where they're all hitting in the same area, that's a 4 3/4 inch group. Much, much better, and actually not bad for iron sights, particularly when this old guy is the one pressing the trigger. Now, comparatively with the AR, sights are a little easier for me to see. However, I did pull one. But now I'm looking at this. I've got a 5 1/4 inch group at 100 yards. But again, this is the one that I pulled, and I knew it when I did it, when I jerked the trigger. These down here in this nice little group here, if I count the flyer, I've got a 5 1/4 inch group at 100 yards. If I don't count the flyer, I've got a 4 1/2 inch group at 100 yards, which tells me the two rifles are very similar in accuracy, and they're going to perform very well at that distance. So here's what I'm going to do with both rifles. First of all, for me, and again, if you've got young eyes and those types of sights on that Saiga work for you, hallelujah, good for you. I don't have young eyes. I'm getting to be an old guy, so I have to adjust the sight that I have on my rifle and the sights I have on my rifles in general. More and more I'm moving to optics and red dots because I can see them. So I'm going to put some nice optics on both of those guns. Maybe I'll buy a loophole scope or something. I don't know, 1 to 4 variable, or 1 1/2 to 5, to 6, or whatever's available, that's designed for the particular round they're shooting, either the 7.62 by 39 or the 5.56. Once I have glass on them, I'll get them all dialed in. I'll come back and we'll do a part 2 with glass on them. We'll do it at 50 yards and 100 yards. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get away from the cheap ammo. I'm going to bring them out here, run some expensive, some good quality ammo through each rifle, and I'll find the ammo each one likes. Then when we've got equal sighting systems, nice glass, and we've figured out what the rifle ammo combination is, I'll run them out here again and we'll try them again so you'll understand the accuracy of both rifles and what their capabilities are. You can hunt with either one. They're both great rifles. I love them both. Both those rifles belong to me, and I don't keep guns I don't like, so you can tell I like them. But as Thompson Whalen once said, only accurate rifles are interesting. So we want to find out just how accurate they are. Look for the part 2. It's going to be a few months. Maybe it'll be a month, maybe it'll be 2, but I'll get around to it as soon as I get glass on them, and then we'll post a part 2 of this video with the glass on them, and we'll see how much we can tighten up those groups. Hey, thanks very much for watching. Please like, subscribe. I don't know where the button is. Share us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all those other places. And if you get a chance to come out and visit P2K, it's the best range in San Diego County, if you ask me. It's my home range, and I teach here. And if you happen to come by sometime, look around for me. If you see me, maybe we can shoot together. Have a great week. Thanks for watching.